Welcome back to Sonic 3 and Knuckles and the final main stage of the game. This is the Death Egg Zone.
Alright, 14 zones in, Tom's out of tea, I'm ready to go, let's do this.
Technically it's only 13 stages in, you moron.
Shut up.
He's just tired of your shit at this point.
I've had to put up with you for 13 zones, alright?
I've had to put up with you for 3 years.
Game, set, and match. So what do you think about the Death Egg, man?
To be honest with you, this is probably my favourite kind of final, like Eggman Fortress and a classic Sonic game. I just love it. I think the music, one of my favourite actual tracks in the game. I love the aesthetics of the stage because like when you're on the Death Egg in Sonic 2, because you only see that tiny corridor, like to me it just feels smaller. But this one, when you look at the background, it's clearly a massive and incredibly epic kind of space station. So to me, it just feels like more of a oh fuck, Robotnik means business this time kind of place. But how about you guys?
Well, adding to that, if you look at the background, it doesn't move at all. That just gives you an idea of how grand this thing is. And it's fitting for a final level. It's fitting for the Death Egg saga, really. Starting with Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, it's this gigantic fortress where you have this final showdown of the classic era.
Steven?
Well, you know, the music's great, the visuals are awesome. I don't know if I just suck at this, game, or maybe if I just get burnt out after 12 zones, but I don't like this level at all because I think it is hard. I think it is way too hard, and, if I'm not good at something, I don't like it.
I can agree with you there, it is pretty challenging. I think like Scrap Brain Zone, it does employ a few like tricks and traps and whatnot, like putting you on conveyor belts while firing missiles at you, as we'll see soon. I think it's a bit fairer than Scrap Brain Zone, and overall I think it's got a much better aesthetic, the music's pretty great, the build-up to what we'll be seeing in like the final boss and whatnot is just great. I think it's better experienced through playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles than just, Sonic and Knuckles, because obviously you have the Death Egg crashing back down onto Angel Island, but in and of itself, love Death Egg Zone. I would put it in probably like my top 3 final Sonic levels, and if we're including like 2D and 3D, Scrap Brain, even though it's quite dickish in parts, I still have a soft spot for that. And Eggman Land, actually, because glitches aside, I found that to be a very fun final level.
I will say, I just want to quickly go slightly off topic, but a second ago Skylar mentioned the Death Egg Saga. How annoyed were you all when Chronicles was first revealed, they said it was going to be an RPG, basically doing a retelling of the Death Egg Saga? How annoyed were you when we didn't get that?
I never heard that.
I did. I used to masturbate to that thought every day for a month. Didn't happen.
I must have forgotten that bit of information, but thank God they didn't butcher the Death Egg Saga, because what we got was infinitely worse.
on the subject of the music, we haven't really brought it up, but Sonic and Knuckles got a studio album, which was pretty much just all the track kind of rearranged in kind of MIDI format, and for some reason the MIDI format they chose for the Death Egg makes it sound like all cute and cuddly. It's completely inappropriate for a track called. It starts off with this kind of bubbly music going for like 4 minutes. Like, this doesn't fit with the fucking Death Egg at all.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how the whole album is, really.
But Mushroom Hill's on, and that sounds awesome, because it sounds like Mushroom Hill's been playing on a banjo, which is just fucking amazing.
Yes. Also, since we mentioned bringing back the Death Egg, how'd you guys feel about the Death Egg being brought back in Sonic Battle?
That wasn't the Death Egg, that was the Death Egg Mark II. The original Death Egg Mark II, mind you.
No, they just said it was the Death Egg.
No, it said Death Egg 2. Look it up.
No, that was Sonic the Fighters, man.
Look it up.
Do not test me on this.
I haven't really played Sonic Battle, so I can't really add anything to this conversation, unfortunately. Other than the fact that this boss is a bit of a dick. I love how Super and Hypersonics gangster lean when you're on the edge of a platform.
I will say that is my favourite boss to do when you have Super Tails. Because we're going to play, I just want to quickly bring up the other characters and the Chaos Emeralds. When you're Knuckles, pretty much acts like like Sonic does. When you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you can become Super Knuckles. When you get all the Hyper Emeralds, you can become Hyper Knuckles. With Tails, you have to get all Chaos Emeralds and all the Super Emeralds before you can transform, which you only get a Super Tails. But he's the most broken character faster until Cream the Rabbit when it entered the fray, because Tails gets 4 flicky birds of death that just fly around and destroy anything in proximity to Tails, which actually means if you're super for the boss we're going to get at the end of this level, you can really fuck yourselves up if you're super Tails for this boss.
That's basically it. He's the prototype Cream the Rabbit, Super Tails is.
I think this is one of the first stages in Sonic game to really mess around with gravity, and you can see in Sonic 4 Episode 2 they obviously took a lot from this, but I loved it, you know, especially when I was playing it as a kid. I loved the like kind of gravity fuck ups. How about you guys?
Yeah, I loved it, and actually I think in going back to that Sonic Jam manual again, apparently Sonic Team took a bunch of people and said, okay, we're going to have a level where the gravity changes. Would you feel comfortable pressing up or down to duck while upside down? And so they just kept it as down because it felt more natural to them.
Speaking of manuals, there's a great bit of trivia in the Sonic 3 manual. There is at the end of it, there's like a few random tips they give you, and one of them is basically they write off any glitches in the game by saying if you run into anything that seems like it shouldn't happen, Dr. Robotnik built that specifically, which is the greatest way that a company kind of wrote off their game glitches. It's fucking genius.
Yeah, Dr. Robotnik's deadly speed traps.
That reminds me, there's these animated GIFs going around where these people like fail at doing really mundane tasks, and then it just like freezes and it says "Thanks, a bar." So someone just dies via a glitch. Freeze frame. Thanks, Eggman. Those are Eggman's April tricks.
I love people on infomercials like that, but I digress.
Now, how do you guys think this compares to Act 1?
They're very different beasts. Like, one takes place inside, one takes place outside. Personally, I prefer Act 2. While it is a bit more challenging, I just love Sonic's planet in the background. It's such a nice visual.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I mean, the whole scope of Sonic 3 just seems big. I mean, yes, technically at the end of Sonic 2, Sonic is in space fighting Robotnik, but you don't get this really nice image of the planet in the background. It just, to me, just so many of the visual things in Sonic 3 and Knuckles just make me want to masturbate so hard.
Well, technically you do, but the only thing you're battling against at the time is the Death Egg robot, and since that's a one-hit kill, you're kind of focusing on the robot itself and not the background.
That's why I died so many times playing Sonic 2, because I was just appreciating the background. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, I love the visuals for this level and the overall design of it, you know, layout-wise, but I prefer the music of Act 1 a little bit more. But that's not to say that this act is phenomenal music in and of itself.
When Tom was saying earlier about how he likes Supersonic Sprite when you're kind of standing on a ledge, I love when you press down on Sonic, he kind of like gets it into like a runner's position.
Yeah, that like 3-point stance kind of deal.
That to me has always looked really, really cool.
How do you feel about the Death Egg, Steven?
How do I feel about the Death Egg? How do I feel about the Death Egg? Well, actually, I feel a little bit bad right now because it just popped in my head that Skylar said Sonic Battle and not Sonic Fighters earlier. So,
I ruined joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So, yeah, my bad. Well, you see, it's better that I correct that now before the fanboys do in their comment section. So, fuck you.
They probably already have.
Yeah.
You know who you are. Now, I don't like either of the mini-bosses in Death Egg. I find them to be too technical. I can't even do Act 1s without Super or Hypersonic. I'm sorry, I'm crap at video games, but there it is.
It's a good thing you're crap at video games because you do it for a living.
I will say it's one of the most it's probably the hardest single like zone boss in the game, but I love the idea of it. I just wish it was slightly easier to accomplish.
Yeah, not my favorite. It's a unique concept, definitely, but it's not that great.
Now this is just like, holy fuck, this is impressive.
The music right here, reminds me of Carl going willy 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 wow.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah, so I'm gonna rock your body.
In parentheses, to the break of dawn.
Sometimes when I'm feeling really immature, I'll take out both the outer fingers, so it's like he's giving me the bird.
I I want to say, I do think it's kind of, while this robot is amazingly impressive, it's kind of stupid that Robotnik made the fingers of this thing the attack points. It's like, why the fuck would you just make these giant, like, sausage fingers that I will crush you using these?
Well, I think he took that into account, because look at his plan B here.
He breathes fire snot at you, genius. No, this, like, again, I just love the fact that Death Egg Act 2, he goes from, like, you know, the kind of gravity boss to this monstrosity, and then I was going to say he goes into Doomsday Zone. To me, it's just like, it's a really nice way to end this game. Just like, the bosses get, like, sequentially harder and harder, and the tension, for me, the tension of the scene just kind of mounts and mounts, and watching Tails constantly die and come back to life is always fun.
I mean, this one is a very easy pattern. Basically, you just jump over the fire, hit it, and then, like, when the siren goes off, you just jump and dodge the laser. But it's such an iconic boss fight, I love it.
And again, it's not even over yet, we still have to knock him down.
Okay, the trick here is not to go too fast. If you basically go at the pace I'm going and just tap the underside of the Egg-O-Matic, you won't go flying back off the platform, which I've done many a time.
Yeah, that's something that can cock you up if you're not careful enough.
And now it's time for the true finale of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Should you have either the complete set of the Chaos Emeralds or the Super Emeralds, you will move on to this, the Doomsday Zone. Let's rock!
Woo!
Alright, finale!
Lay it on us, Gareth.
Just this music, the way, like, when I first played this, I was a kid, this level blew my mind. Like, Super Sonic in space, chasing a giant robot. Could it get any better than this? Unfortunately, it didn't.
Nope, they pretty much reuse this trope again, and again, and I have a complete list here actually. Sonic Adventure, Perfect Chaos, Sonic Adventure 2, Final Hazard, Heroes, Metal Overlord, Advance, The Moon Zone, Advance 2, True Area 53, Advance 3, Non-Aggression, and fucking so on.
I would say though, in terms of those, the only one that to me feels like a true spiritual successor is SA1, because in that one you are just running to attack the monster. In the others, there's slight elements of actual strategy, but not really.
Yeah, and sometimes it becomes very cynical. Like, I love the final boss of Rush, but there's no reason for that to play out like it does.
Oh god, Rush.
But if they didn't, we wouldn't get Burning Blaze.
That is a good point. Now, what did you all think about this boss, Gareth?
I love this boss. I mean, I think as a kid it took me a while to kind of get the hang of this section, because this section used to fuck me up more than anything. And it's just a matter of knowing where the ring, like figuring out the pattern of where the big clumps of rings are to build up your ring meter, and then just smack this guy down. But in terms of final boss, one of my most cherished final bosses in any game of all time. I love this final stage.
I don't like it. I couldn't do it as a kid, and I can't do it now. I can't. It's just, I should just stop. You know, no, just no.
You call yourself a Sonic fan? Turn in your fan card and get the fuck out.
Sky?
You know, actually, when I first got this level, I was so excited because I'd never beat the game with all the emeralds before. I ran to my neighbor's house next door and told him about this secret level at the end of Sonic and Knuckles. And I forgot what it was called, so I just told him it was something like Washing Machine Zone. I don't fucking know. I think that's what I told him, though. But I was like, dude, there's this level in Sonic and Knuckles, and you're in space, and you're supersonic. Whoa!
I love Doomsday Zone. I think it's got the perfect amount of tension. The music isn't necessarily the best final boss theme ever. Personally, I think the one they use for the Death Egg robot is much better, but it's a great final boss and a perfect ending to my favourite 2D Sonic game, and that's really all I have to say about it.
I will just intercut with your view about the music. While I agree it's not the best boss theme, I say the intro, like the opening like 20 seconds, it's so amazing. It perfectly fits the tension and the mood of the scene. Unfortunately, the bit we're in now, the gets a bit repetitive, but I fucking love the intro to the music track. What exactly is holding on to the Master Emerald here? Just Sonic Spike?
Fucking force of will, brother.
The power of teamwork.
Okay, let's sum up our thoughts. Gareth?
Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you know, was one of the classic video games of my childhood. You know, it's widely regarded one of the best Sonic games, one of the best video games of all time. I normally bounce between 2 and 3 and K as what's my favorite Sonic game, what classic Sonic game is. And after doing this playthrough, I think I'm leaning more towards 3 and K again. I fucking love this game. If I could be buried with one game, it would be this. I fucking love this game, man. This game's amazing. Fucking Skylar, you talk now.
Well, okay, I'll talk about it a little bit. I love Sonic 1. I love Sonic 2. I absolutely adore Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And that might sound a little bit but there is a reason that people say this is the absolute pinnacle of the Sonic series. And I think over the course of this playthrough, we've seen it.
I played this game. Chill, buddy.
Thank you all for watching the HellfireComms playthrough of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.